15 years and more in a variety of both national and international curricula, Ms. Deepti is one of the true believers and promoters of IB education, considering it an excellent curriculum providing students with the education required for having a bright future. As a lifelong learner, she has always been using any opportunity for her own learning and has been transferring her knowledge to other colleagues, believing that learning happens in collaboration and continuous sharing of perspectives and practices, for which we are all here now. So over to you, Deepti ma'am.
Thank you, Ms. Purba. How are you all? The pandemic has brought to fore various challenges in front of us educators. We keep questioning ourselves. Is the learning happening? Are the class activities capturing students' interest or not? And I think planning beforehand really builds the confidence that guides our classroom practice. All the more it's important in the online teaching scenario because it makes the teacher's thinking quite visible. Honestly, it's not the unit plan as a product that excites me. Rather, it is the process and thinking that underpins the planning process. Because I feel the unit plans, they develop that coherence in the students' learning experience, and then they are able to direct their own journey of learning and self-exploration. That's why the objective of today's session is to develop understanding of those essential components of unit plan with focus on two aspects, the statement of inquiry and inquiry questions. Now, before we move on, let's pause for a moment and reflect upon our own understanding of unit plans. So Ms. Purba would be putting the link in the chat box, and I request all of you to fill the Google form. It won't take more than few seconds.
Yeah, the link is already there in the chat box. Please see if you can access it.
I hope, Ms. Purba, my screen is visible and I'm audible.
Yeah, it is. It is.
So we'll wait for the responses.
If anybody is having trouble in clicking on the link, please do let us know in the chat box. It says the docs google.com. It's up there.
Yes, it's just, yes, so we're getting responses. Okay, so many people feel that the process of unit planning is quite complex. Okay, 50% of the people, more than 50% people feel that it's a very complex process, whereas 28% feel that they are yet to create a unit plan. Okay, I'm sure there'll be very good major takeaways from this session, and you will be able to create a unit plan successfully. Well, 77% people feel that unit planning is needed to design the unit step by step. Of course, I totally agree that it gives you that, the guidance, that support to make the unit, work step by step. So it's really helpful in designing the unit step by step. 53% people feel that the biggest challenge is that there's less collaboration time with peers. Well, I would say if the school allows you to have this built in your schedule, the timetable, then definitely the collaboration would happen. And unit planning cannot be possible unless and until there's effective collaboration within the department, across the departments. So I think that collaboration time is crucial to make a successful unit plan. Thank you so much for your responses. And so now we move ahead. The unit plan, I would say is a personal journey for a team of teachers. In fact, it's a set of parallel journeys that involves planning, teaching, reporting, assessing, and the main purpose is to create that environment. I'm sure you would agree with me. The main purpose is to create that learning environment that inspires and challenges and supports the learners, that goes beyond the content of any unit plan. So the unit planning process is basically based on this inquiry cycle, with inquiry, action, and reflection being a part of it. So here is the template that we follow in our school. Our school is an IB continuum school. So we made our own template, keeping the IB sample in mind. You can have your own customized template, and the order can differ, the structure can differ, but make sure that these components are there and they make sense to the teachers. So we have the three major parts of it: the inquiry, which established the purpose of the unit, meaning that why are the students learning that particular unit? And I think that's very, very important. The second part is the action, which means which reflects the taught curriculum as to how students will learn. And the third part, which is reflection, where the teachers record their reflections at every stage of planning and teaching, prior to teaching, during the teaching, and after the teaching. So, before we move on, I promise that we'll be developing the unit plan together. And the first important step being framing the statement of inquiry. So, I would request you to get some responses on what people understand by statement of inquiry. What is it essentially? So we can have a show of hands, or we can have responses in the chat box as to what is statement of inquiry.
In case anybody would like to share, please raise your hands. Anyone?
Yes, please.
Okay, yes.
Yeah. Actually, what I intuitively understand just by seeing the statement is that what are we trying to inquire? Like what's our question that we are trying to answer? Something like that. But I think there are different components, key concept and related concept and all those. Those I don't understand actually. I searched on the net also, but couldn't get a good understanding of like the constituents of the statement of inquiry. But what I understand, the statement of inquiry is just a guiding question into the unit. That's what I understand.
Okay. Ms. Deepti, we have another response from Ms. Momita. Yes, okay. Ms. Momita.
Am I audible?
Yeah, Ms. Momita, yes.
So for me, the statement of inquiry is the statement which will drive the inquiry. So it is a one statement which summarizes the goal of the unit beautifully, keeping in mind the concept, the context, in what regard we are going to explore the unit. So it is that one goal statement, we can say. For me, that is the inquiry of statement, which will be our prime focus to drive the unit.
Okay,
we have another response from Mr. David. Yes, Mr. David.
Welcome, everyone. I'm a little confused as well. For people online, I'm from Canada, and I'm not 100% certain what the difference is between the statement of inquiry and the learning outcomes. So as a PE teacher, I would outline exactly what I want the kids to have learned or mastered by the end of the unit. How is that different from this statement of inquiry? I'm not clear on that.
Okay. Well, that's a very intelligent question. Learning outcome are basically what the students will be able to learn by the end of the lesson or by the end of the unit. So that's like the objective. But the statement of inquiry is that single statement which drives the development of the unit's inquiry. So it's basically that summarizes what the students will be learning and why. So it's that concept that drives their entire inquiry process, whereas learning outcome is the objectives that would be met by the end of the lesson or the unit.
May I just add on to this, Mr. David? So for me, learning outcomes or objectives is what I intend my students to do after they know that particular unit. Whereas in a unit planning for the statement of inquiry, using that knowledge, where are they going to apply it in the real life? So if they know polygons, that triangle, circle, not a circle, a triangle, a square, these are polygons. But when they are constructing their house, how are they going to put these polygons into place? So will they be able to identify that your table is a polygon? So something like that can make them relate with the real world.
So you're saying for for me as a PE teacher, the statement of inquiry would be their ability to play a sport at a particular level when down the road when they graduate or something like that. Is that
maybe they learn certain life skills? Yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you for clearing it up. I think I get it now.
Okay. Yes,
Okay,
Miss
I think,
Kakuli.
yes.
Yeah, I think I'll add on to that. For me, statement of inquiry is that big idea which actually weaves in how should I take up my learners one by one, making the whole unit clear in a way to exactly apply the same in their daily lives. So many a times what has happened in my experience is that they come up with something which we beyond what we have thought at times. So, applying it to those places and not a very specific.
Absolutely. I totally agree. And that's why the statement of inquiry is that single central statement that captures what students will be learning and why. And everything in the unit should be aligned to support that statement of inquiry. It should be meaningful, it should be succinct, it should be understandable to the teachers, of course, but to the students as well. And most importantly, it is transferable to other units and to other subjects also. So not only within the group, the other subjects, is it applicable, but it goes beyond the subject group as well. So today we will be, formulating a step. We'll be having a stepwise approach to formulate a unit plan. And so here we begin. Step one, I would request all the teachers to think about one subject area content of the unit that they plan to take up in near future. For example, I'm an individuals and societies educator, and I plan to take up in my classes now, where are all the people? So I request each one of you to be involved in this process and think about one unit. Okay. You can also type in the chat box or put your responses. You can show through show of hands explain which unit you would like to be doing in the future.
Anybody would like to share? Okay, so
Yes.
we have hands up. Mr. Nimit, yes.
Yes. Unit 3 in mathematics, DP, trigonometry. Yeah, that's what I.
Okay. All right. So now what I'll be doing, there's a link to the Padlet, which will be put by Ms. Purba in the chat box. There are multiple documents already uploaded on that Padlet drive. So I would request all of you to open the document of key concept over there. So this is the Padlet which I'm showcasing right now. The link has been put in the chat box by Ms. Purba. I request you, as we move to step 2, to open the key concept document. Okay, so now whatever we would be doing, the responses, I request you people to put it on the Padlet so that it's visible to everybody. Okay, now as we move on, as I said, step 2 is key concept. May we have some responses, Ms. Purba, as to what is a key concept? Anybody who would like to answer, what do you understand by key concept?
Yeah, you can raise your hands, please.
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Rajpal.
Well, key concept is which we can correlate with other subjects. Like I'm teaching Hindi, so if I'm taking the communication, okay, or maybe I can take the culture. If I'm taking the culture in through the stories, okay, so the culture is the key concept. So if drawing teacher is making them art teacher is making them painting or like that, he is also teaching the concept of key concept of culture. So same like in the music they can understand the key concept of culture. So key concept is main and who can above the all subjects, and it's like that. Or we can from the key concepts we can to know more further, we can go to the help that is related concepts we can know, like we can know the culture through the language, what we wear, what we eat. These are the helping related concepts. That's all.
Okay.
We have more responses, Miss Deepti.
Yeah.
We have RC. The name is not very clear. Yes, Mr. RC.
Yeah, the name is Radhika actually.
Okay.
Yeah, so one of the key concept is perspective. And you can use perspective in a gamut of subjects and a lot of units because, for instance, I'm an English teacher. So if I'm teaching them poetry or if I'm teaching them short stories, for example, so in that perspective matters a lot because in literature, one story, one poem, anything can be interpreted in a lot of ways. So that is how perspective is one of the important key concepts.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. Do
We
you
also have Miss Nadia.
Yes. Yes, Miss Nadia.
You may unmute yourself, please.
Sorry, good morning. I'm from Lebanon and also Colombian. I teach business management and Spanish a bit inicio. Well, the key concepts in business management are mainly six, and we can apply them in all chapters. One of them is culture. How can we apply culture in business management? Because anytime we are going to deal, for example, internationally with other organizations, we have to learn about the culture of other countries, as well as if we all organizations have their own culture. So this is how we link business management to one of the key concepts.
Absolutely. I think that's a wonderful example that how culture is such an important key concept because that's not only talking about one particular country, but it is talking about other countries as well. And as one of the examples was about culture being used in Hindi and then in painting and visual, that it is not only relevant in one subject, but in other subjects as well. So if I say key concepts are those big, powerful ideas that are relevant within the subject group and they transcend to other subject groups as well. And so here are those key concepts that can be used across the curriculum. Aesthetics, creativity, they are not bound by any particular subject, but can be used in various subject-specific disciplines, identity, logic. So there are some more examples. For example, sciences can use change from one state to the other, relationships, systems, language and literature, as one of the educators spoke about it, perspectives, connections, creativity, communication. So they can be used in their own subject, but they're applicable to other groups as well. And then you have maths using form, relationship, logic. So these big, powerful ideas which give a big picture to the entire unit. So now I would request all of you to think about keeping the unit in your mind, of course, that you would be taking up. Think about one key concept that that is related to the unit that you plan to take up. So I would request you to put it on the Padlet or in the chat box so that we can discuss it further.
We have already got a lot of responses, Ms. Deepti. Mr. Roshan has written the key concept is usually the main idea. Anukriti has written change and system is also a part of INS.
Okay. All right. Change. Yes, in INS, you have change, you have global interactions, you have systems. These are the key concepts that are used over there.
Okay. And Mr. Roshan has also written communication.
Okay. Well, why not? Communication, yes. Miss Nadia has written, as you can see on the screen, culture and change. Miss Nadia, which subject group are you talking about? And how would you use culture? Can you elaborate on this?
Yes, I teach business management, and it's individuals and societies group. Culture is very important to business, especially in this changing world, where we are a global, let's say, a global community, and business needs to grow and work, expand into other cultures and nations. So people need to be aware of cultural differences. So in order to understand their behaviors and how to target their business, let's say their business towards targeting that culture. So it's very important to know culture, especially in business management.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, we have from Anukriti that key concepts are transferable.
Yes, they are transferable.
Sujana has written change. Kajal has written creativity, communication, and global interaction.
Okay. All right. Ms. Kajal, when you were thinking about creativity as the key concept, so what unit are you connecting with this? Can you elaborate?
Yes, Ms. Kajal.
Namaste everyone. Basically, I'm a Hindi educator. So if we are talking about creativity in any topic given, we can say that if we are giving the topic as um, writing a essay or paragraph writing, anything, or they can present a play also. So creativity will be there.
Absolutely, absolutely. So creativity as it is, generation of novel ideas. And in fact, sometimes considering new ideas from the existing perspectives also. So there can be creativity anywhere. So I totally agree. All right, so we've got some wonderful responses. And remember that the teacher has to identify one key concept only and keep this thing in mind that that key concept will drive the entire unit's development. Okay, so now we move on to step 2. And the next step is select one or two related concepts. Now, what are related concepts? Can we have some responses? Select one or more related concepts, but before we understand, we want audience to answer, what do you understand by related concept?
Okay, we already have a show of hands. Yes,
Yes,
Miss
please.
Arti, yeah.
Hello, ma'am.
Yeah, yeah.
Ma'am, what I feel, this is Richa here. What I feel that related concept is something related to a key concept which we have chosen. And based on the topic which we are about to deliver to our student, how is it related? It's like general topic which we are creating it, and we can make what I feel like we can make a relation with all other subjects. It's not only particular with respect to one subject, but it's general topic which I feel. I don't know whether I have a good understanding on this or not, but then this is what I feel. Something related to the key concept is what related concept is.
Okay, Miss Richa,
Though I'm
let
not
me
sure
clarify.
what I've said is correct or not.
Okay.
So yeah.
Thanks for your response, Ms. Richa. But let me clarify that key concept is the one which is general, which is transferable to other subjects. However, related concept is very subject specific. All right. So what you can
Okay.
do, they are very important for the student to study. So teachers generally, they have to select one or more related concepts to extend their learning and develop deeper understanding. In fact, it's used to create different perspectives on that larger key unit. So you can understand that you have to have different perspectives on that larger key concept. So you have this option of selecting one or two related concepts from your subject, or you can have that related concept coming from other subjects as well. Or third option is you can develop your own related concept, but it has to be subject specific. Sometimes the key concept can also be used as a related concept to provide that specific disciplinary depth. So I hope I've answered your question that how,
Yes. Mr.
what are
Rajpal,
the
please.
options? Yes.
Yes, ma'am. For related concepts, you are
Yeah.
asking.
Would you like to elaborate? Yes, related concepts.
Yes, ma'am. If I'll talk about some language, okay. Actually, I joined only 1 month back, so I am not that much aware all these concepts. Okay, but I'll try. Like if I have to explain the communication, okay. So communication, for if I have selected the topic communication, so if I have to teach the advertisement. So advertisement through the advertisements, there are many types of advertisement like print, radio, TV advertisements. So through these concepts, I can make them understand what is the communication and what will be the need, who will be the targeting audience, and what should be our language, for which medium we have to make it. We have to, these, I think, uh, we have to
Okay.
keep in our
Yeah.
mind.
Yeah, absolutely. When you're talking about advertisement, then key concepts could be aesthetics also, could be perspectives also. And of course, communication is one of the most obvious key concepts. So yes, and then when you are framing you're selecting the related concepts, so keep the key concept in mind and then develop a relationship between the key and related concept. See, it's very important to develop that meaningful relationship between key and related concept, and that for that there has to be a lot of brainstorming between the teachers in the department, across the departments also at times, to have that relationship coming out, and it has to be meaningful. So let me give you my example. So as an individuals and societies educator, when I was taking up the unit Where Are All the People, identity was the key concept, and the related concept was culture over here. So I would now request all of you to open the related concept document on the Padlet. This is already uploaded, as I said. Open the related concept document and select one or two related concepts that would be related to the unit. So Ms. Purba, again, as and when people are putting it on the Padlet or through show of hands, we can have some people responding.
Yeah, I would just like to read very good responses that have come up. Mr. Manish's response: related concepts promote depth of learning and add coherence to the understanding of academic subject.
Okay, yes, absolutely. That's a fantastic response. Yeah.
And then Miss Anukriti has written, they are also concept, they help us to narrow down ideas and make it more subject specific.
Yeah, they narrow down, and I think I would like to emphasize on the word coherence, which was stated by Mr. Manish, that yes, in this entire process of unit planning is all about building that coherence. So the student is at the learner, and then there's the coherence and smooth flow of the inquiry that's happening. Yes. Any more responses?
Mr. Rahul has written example main concept SDG1. So I would just like Mr. Rahul if he can unmute himself and explain the concept here.
Yes, yeah. Good afternoon. The main concept here is actually the sustainable goal one, which is by the United Nations, no poverty. So when we are talking about it, we talk about the poverty being relative to different countries. Like for India, a person owning a car would consider a luxury, but a similar person in USA might still be considered poor. So that concept of what is the poverty line can be you can say the attached the as we go on to the concept, it could be further linked to it. So that's how the concept is introduced. Like, and then we talk about the the monthly incomes which are there. Like for a person living in a rural area, if a person's family is earning around say 4,080 rupees per month, so that family would be considered above the that's the benchmark. So if they have earning above that, they will be considered above the poverty line. While in urban areas, if the family is earning 5,000 rupees per month, they would be considered above the poverty line. While the global index is totally different, is $1.9 per day per person. So I mean, all these concepts are introduced, and then we talk about what is happening in the country. That's what I was trying to say.
Okay, I think that's a wonderful example. But so I would request you to, out of the key concepts that were showcased and that are already there on the Padlet, can you pick up one which is related to the poverty that you're talking about? So, like you talking about which is relative in nature and it varies from country to country.
Right.
So, would it be like global interactions or relationships? So, pick up one key concept that is like overarching idea, powerful idea.
I see. Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
In
So,
fact, I'm just trying. Okay. Yeah.
all right. So, Should we move ahead, Pooja, or do we have more? Because we have some really good responses coming on
Yeah,
Padlet also.
I would ask Miss Nadia also to share, please.
Yes.
My key concept was, let me see the Padlet because I forgot.
Yeah, it's
change
there.
change and culture. Then
Mhm.
yani the sub concepts were growth and evolution. So in order to be able to growth as a business organization, we need to understand the culture. That's why I decided to, as a second concept, to choose change and evolution. And in order to to change, we also need to understand the evolution of businesses and how we have to grow from the a small organization into a bigger one. So that were my sub concepts. That's
Yeah,
why
I
I
think
chose them.
yeah, it's a very good example how evolution of the companies and organizations can happen, and culture being an important part of it, being an important basis of it. All right. So, Ms. Pooba, I think we should move ahead now.
Yeah.
And once you have selected the key concept, now, as I said, try to think of that relationship which should make sense between the key and the related. That means how does key impact related and vice versa as well. So if they are totally unrelated, then it would not make sense. There has to be a meaningful relationship between the two. Next step, after this brainstorming that we have done, let's move to another important thing, and that is reviewing the global context. Well, I would just say it in few words. It's understanding these concepts in a context, in a real life setting. That means learning, having real life application. I would seek some responses from the audience. How have you done it in your classes in near future? I mean, recently. How has this context or application been made in the classes? Can you give one or two examples? Yes. How have you had application being coming, the real life context? Yes.
Okay, we have Mr. Dhaval. Yes, Mr. Dhaval, you can share your views.
Uh, Good afternoon, ma'am. Actually, I'm teaching in Genesis Global School and I teach dance. So I just joined recently and I actually learned from so many things. And even actually I learned the arts guide of MYP. So yes, I have taken the personal and cultural expression as a global context. So what I think is like in my subject, dance is basically like it works with that personal conceptual understanding also, and like they can also like be able to like expression with their culture. So in my dance, actually, I just start with their personal. So I just ask them like how you take dance personally, like what we can say the dance help us with what we can say to fight with the depression, to express ourselves, and yes, dance also makes us fit. So I have like this I just give them this word that we call it the personal and cultural expression. So through the learners will come up with their own ideas. The learners will come up with their own ideas, and they come with the with the question and answers where they can say yes sir, I love dancing, and sometimes like dance help me with to stay fit and to like encourage me to like grow myself. So I have
Oh,
taken this personal and cultural expression where
okay,
they
that's
can
a good
express
example.
themselves.
So, Mr. Double, has this thing made the classes more engaging and interactive when they?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Because what is happening, ma'am, when I take this global context, so I have to just like give them only a topic, and after that, I just be quiet. I just tell students to you you just look at this global context and just give me your reviews and create a peers. You can create a peers like two groups, two people group, three people group. So what they do, they do research on what we can say the dance or personal and cultural expressions, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Can we have some more examples,
Yeah, I
please?
think Mr. Eric would like to say. Yes, Mr. Eric.
Okay. Maybe I can add on to what that teacher has already spoken about, personal and cultural expressions. So I was teaching theater of absurd. I'm a drama and theater teacher at Pune Mahindra International School, and I was using this play called No Exit, where it tries to look at the place called hell. So how do people see hell? How do they imagine it to be? And because of culture and the way we have lived our lives, because of religion and everything else, how do you view hell? So from the playwright John Sartre, this is how he views hell as me and you. So that became a beautiful, way of, dialoguing, talking to students about how they think about hell and how they see it. Is it because of how they've been told by their culture or their parents? And you see, and how does the world view hell? And that makes us even want to know, how do other people see it? How do other people imagine it? How do someone in Africa, someone in Europe, how do they see it? So that became quite, an imaginable way of discussing hell and connecting it to the script that we were talking about, and connecting it to what other people think about it in other worlds. So yeah, the global context makes us even teach a particular concept or a skill in a wider way than how we would have taught it if we were looking at it in terms of content. Thank you.
Okay, that's indeed quite thought-provoking. Okay, so what can anybody tell, what do you mean by global context? If I ask the essence of it, what is global context? Yes, because that would be helpful to the educators who are making the unit plan for the first time. Yes.
Okay. I have a show of hand from Mr. Rajpal. Maybe Mr. Rajpal, yes. What is a global context? Yes, Mr. Rajpal.
Yes, ma'am. Global context means I'll take the same example like we have taken the culture. If I'll take the like I'm talking about the tribals, story of tribals. So if I'll talk that okay, in India, how tribals live and how everything is, and same like kind we have to think why in other parts of the world how their life is different, or what they are worshipping and how they are living, what they are wearing, what is their culture. Okay, so everything we
Okay.
have. Okay, so
Yeah.
we don't have to be like only for the ourselves. We have to think and respect others also, like understand other situations also.
Okay. So
We
I
have
think
another
you have.
response from
Yes,
Miss
please.
Momita.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, am I audible? Yeah. So for me, global context is the lens we take to navigate the unit. For example, for the unit food, if we take the global context of, say, personal and cultural expression, there we can explore how the our food choices are influenced by the different culture and different personal choices. Whereas if I take another global context of, say, sustain, uh, sustainability and fairness in development, we can explore the GMOs and the BT crops. So it is the
BT crops.
lens, yes, which is the lens we take to navigate the unit or to drive the inquiry, you can say. Depending on the
Okay.
lens we are choosing, we analyze the unit. So if out of the 6 global contexts we choose any one lens, the approach will be, I mean, the area we are going to cover will be different. That's what I feel.
Absolutely.
This is my.
Absolutely. So global contexts are these authentic settings, those events and circumstances, because it's important for these 21st century learners to explore, question, and develop these well-informed ideas. But when they do this through an inquiry which is set in an authentic setting, like in a particular culture or specific setting, then the learning becomes more engaging and relevant. So this learning has to have a real life application. And that's why you can see through this that learner is at the center. And at every step of the inquiry, the learner is asking himself or herself, why are these concepts important? Why are we engaged in this inquiry? Why is it important for me to understand this particular thing? Why do people care about this topic? So at every step, as the learner is moving ahead, he or she is introspecting and reflecting on this. And that is the purpose of global context, because that's giving that real life connect to that particular inquiry. And so we have these as the sixth global context, the identities and relationships, where the learner is thinking, who am I? Who are we? Orientation in space and time. What is the meaning of when and where? Personal and cultural expression. What is the nature and purpose of creative expression? Innovation. So you can see these are some of the global contexts, and then we'll be looking into some possible examples. That means explorations where we'll be delving deeper into it. So now I would request all of you to open the global context document on the Padlet, because that will help you pick one of the global contexts that of course is aligned to the statement, that of course is related to the key and related concept that you have picked up. So I request you to select one and then come up with your response. I'll give you one example, because when I was taking identities as my key concept and culture as my related concept, so of course the global context was the identities and relationships. So what I did, I took identities and relationships, and then through that, the students will be exploring their identity. So I picked up beliefs and values, right? So I request on the basis of this example to pick up one of the global contexts. So Ms. Purba, may we have some responses? Either they are coming on the panel. Yes. As and when educators are giving responses, others can continue working and selecting these global contexts.
There with us, please do share your emails. You can reach out to us. Our emails are.
Yes. Can we have some responses?
Yeah. I'm just waiting for the show of hands, Ms. Deepti.
Yeah.
If anybody would like to share.
Yeah, you can take your own time.
Yeah.
In picking up the global context, but keep in mind that it has to be aligned to your key concept, related concept, because ultimately when you're making the statement of inquiry, all of them should make meaning, and they should come out to be, the statement should come out to be a very succinct, meaningful statement.
Yeah, so we have a response from Miss Nadia. Yes, Miss Nadia.
Well, I am audible. Yes. I think a very important global concept is globalization and sustainability, especially in business, because business are social organization and they affect communities and global communities. And we always address this topic, and it's not just a matter of a unit or a chapter. It is all around, it's all over the course, where whenever I find the way I can make the connection with globalization and sustainability, I do it, because businesses should be aware of the impact they have on the globe. A recent topic that I was discussing with my students was how ethical is to the child labor that is being done in Africa and other countries, that companies are not aware. Some companies are not aware of child labor, and they still buy the inputs, the raw materials from poor countries. So what should be done about it? And we always do these discussions, and we do the follow up with the students.
Okay, I think that's a good example that you're talking about child labor. And so definitely globalization and sustainability comes as an important global context. And then what you do is pick up one small strand of the explorations. So I would request the audience to look into the global context, and then on the besides it are the global context explorations. That means some further areas which you can develop. So you will pick up one small strand. For example, in your case, Nadia, if globalization and sustainability is the global context, you can pick up, the conservation, or you can pick up, say, the resources as one area which can be delved deeper. Absolutely wonderful example. Thanks for your response. So we have more responses also coming.
Right now I can't see the show of hands. If you can just raise your hands.
Yes, so we have Mr. Jackson writing about the global context being personal and cultural expression, and the area of exploration is creation. Okay, Mr. Jackson, would you elaborate on this example, please? Elaborate on this particular thing.
Okay, thank you very much. I would, this is a drama unit, and I'm actually looking at aesthetics. And basically, when we are talking about aesthetics, we're just looking at the beauty of performance. And we are looking, when we are talking about personal and cultural expression, I'm more inclined to creation. Creation, basically, when we are in drama, what we are basically doing is we are creating a world. We are creating a world for that moment. So, but of course, when we are creating that world, it has to work within the parameters of the real world. So what we are looking at in the unit is we are looking at how, and in different communities, how the beauty of the performance, it is varied in different spheres of the world. So for example, how the West would view beauty, it is totally different from how the East would view beauty. And we want to just to create, we want to create a world, we want to create a world that is true and resonates very well in the immediate community. So that is basically what a unit would be looking at.
Okay, I think that's a good example. And Mr. Jackson, I'm sure you will give ample opportunities to the students to explore the ways in which they can, discover and express their ideas, their feelings, their perspectives. Yes?
Totally, yes.
We also have a response from Ms. Preeti.
Yes, please.
Yes, Ms. Preeti, you can unmute yourself. Preeti Dikshit.
Can you
okay.
Yeah.
Padlet link? Because I'm unable to type anything. Can you please share the Padlet link?
All right, I'll do that.
Okay. While we are getting responses, I want to clarify one thing. You can see over here on the screen that there are some possible explorations. So teacher can choose one area of exploration or a combination, or they can develop their own also suited to their own local needs. But remember, whatever exploration that you take, it has to be aligned with the global context. So some possible explorations are already given, but this is, there can be more examples which are developed by you people. So, for example, when I took identities and relationships, I took beliefs and values, and the possible exploration was identity. So keep that thing in mind. There has to be an alignment. So while we are having responses, I'll just share this example, which will make your task even easier. The key concept that I took was identities. The related concept, culture. The global context exploration was beliefs and values. And then came my statement of inquiry, where I had one key concept, one or two related concepts. There can be more than one, but maximum two, plus one global context exploration. And that's how I made a meaningful, transferable, succinct statement that made sense to me. And that was culture may shape beliefs and values that inform identity. So see how I have my entire thing is keeping, my statement has the key concept, the related and global context all coming in and framed and woven in such a way that it has meaning. So I would request all of you now that you have all the documents opened, select one key concept if you have not done already, select one or two related, and try to frame one statement of inquiry on the Padlet or in the chat box so that we can discuss it further. Yes, so I would see if on the Padlet, oh, yes, we're getting a lot of responses, Ms. Purva.
Yeah.
So take your time and try to frame one statement of inquiry. Remember, everything in the unit should be aligned to support that statement of inquiry. Your teaching strategies, your assessments, all of them would be, based on the statement of inquiry, should be strictly aligned to it. Can we have some response? There are responses already coming in.
Yeah, so maybe Miss Deepti, I can also share one of my example with you.
Yes, please. Yes,
So
please.
if I take the topic of algebra, my key concept is logic. My related concept is patterns and generalization. And the global context that I chose is scientific and technical innovation. So my SOI comes out to be scientific and technological innovation may lead to solution based on generalization.
Okay. All right.
So I am
Yes.
using all my
That's
key
a
concept, related concept, and global context here.
absolutely, absolutely. Okay, we have some more responses, some more
Yeah,
statements of
I think
inquiry.
Nadia is ready with her response. Yes, Miss Nadia.
On it. I'm working on it.
Oh,
Is
your hand was raised.
Sorry. So I can say that growth and evolution should be based on cultural awareness in a changing world, and the businesses should be um, aware of global sustainability of resources.
Okay, so but when you're making the statement of inquiry, so you don't have to add the word businesses over here because then it would become like very, very specific to your own subject. So try to make it a little more general so that it's transferable. Okay, I think we've got a wonderful response from Kirti. She says that with
Anukriti wants
scientific
to
and
share. Anukriti would like to
okay.
share. Yes, Anukriti.
Yeah.
Yes, Miss Anukriti, you are on mute.
Right. Okay. So my topic is settlement, and my key concept is systems. Related concept is sustainability. Global context here is scientific and technical innovation. Strand of exploration is adaptation, ingenuity, and progress. My statement of inquiry is, with scientific and technical innovation, systems can be sustained.
Okay, so you have the global context exploration, which is adaptability and ingenuity.
Right.
Okay, so yes, you have used all the three things. Of course, the words have been different, but I think that's a good statement. So, when you are making the statement of inquiry, before we take up more responses, I want to clarify one thing. When you are framing a statement of inquiry, remember that these four things have to be there. So it's like a sort of checklist for you. Is your statement of inquiry representing a contextualized or conceptual understanding? That means it has to have a global context exploration. It should describe a complex relationship which is worthy of inquiry. That means it should be an argumentative in nature. It should have that element in it. it should be transferable beyond the content of unit. In fact, I would say not only beyond the content of the unit, but beyond the subject as well, because it is open and general. And then it should use the words, because that will give that element of open-endedness in it. So it should use the word often, can, may, so that it's more open-ended. So I would say, Anukriti, that when you were writing the sentence was absolutely fine, but try to use the words can or may, so that there is a lot of inquiry in it. Okay, so can we have some more responses on statement of inquiry, or should we move ahead, Ms. Pooba?
I don't have a show of hands. Maybe somebody else wants to share. Or Nadia, are you ready with your SOI?
I'm ready.
All right.
Can you please check it if it is fine? Should growth and evolution be based on cultural awareness in a changing world, keeping in mind sustainability of world resources and urban planning?
All right. Well, I would say that starting from should, if you can just tweak it a little bit and use the words that growth and evolution may be based, right? Because you're not asking a question, it has to be a statement.
Growth and evolution may be based. Yes. Thank you.
Yes.
Yes, Ms.
Any other
Arsi.
response?
Yes. Yes, Ms. Arsi.
I hope everyone was able to access the document. Yes. So, okay, I think we have done a wonderful job, and we have achieved our first milestone, that was framing a statement of inquiry. And now we move on to the second major step, and that is the... Yes, please. Yes.
Sorry. If you're continuing, then I'll speak later. No problem.
Okay. So thank you. So now what we would be doing, we would be framing the inquiry questions. But before that, there has to be a line of inquiry. So what happens, that statement of inquiry is followed by line of inquiry. The line of inquiry basically gives a scope, a direction to the inquiry. So it has a set of questions, and those questions are drawn and inspired from the statement of inquiry. So the line of inquiry gives the objective to those set of questions. So it starts from the basic academic knowledge, and then it gradually proceeds or progresses to high order thinking questions. So I'll give you one example. So we have the three set of questions, which are factual, conceptual, and debatable, which are of course guided by the line of inquiry. So, let me first explain what these questions are before we move on to line of inquiry. There are three set of questions: factual, which are based on what. So they have a specific answer. They are, they can be supported by evidence. So it's easy for the student to find out the answer from the textbook. So when the statement of inquiry has been made, and then you have these inquiry questions. So what being the factual questions being generally direct answer based questions. So like if I have, say, something revolving around innovation, I would simply ask, what is innovation? Conceptual questions are involving analysis and application. And so they may not lead to a specific answer. And generally they start with how and why. Like if I keep innovation in mind, how are innovative ideas developed? So see how the student is progressing from those basic content-based questions to more analytical questions, how and why of it. And then you have debatable questions, which inspire debate, which inspire discussion, and they involve a lot of synthesis and evaluation. So generally these questions start with to what extent or could, and most importantly, these debatable questions may lead to summative task, because summative task is the culmination of the student learning of that particular unit. So these debatable questions are generally incorporated, or the summative tasks are based on that. So let me give you one example to make my point clear. My key concept was culture may shape beliefs and values that inform identity. I'm continuing with the same example, which had one key concept, one or two related concepts, plus one global context exploration. So just to clarify again, I use the word may, and it is a statement, not a question. So this is one statement that's driving the development of the entire unit. Then came the line of inquiry, which means what do you want students to explore further? Maybe one aspect of that statement of inquiry. So for example, I want to, in my first line of inquiry, I want to focus on beliefs and values. So my question could be, what type of beliefs and values form the foundation of culture? So belief and values was my global context exploration. And I am basing my first line of inquiry on this. So factual question started with what? The answer could be very easily or very precise and can be found by the student from the textbook. The second set of questions is conceptual, the how of it, the why of it. How do cultural beliefs and values bring people together? How do cultural beliefs cause discord? So you can see there's some analysis involved over here. And then comes the highest order thinking skill based questions, debatable questions, which are open-ended and which inspire discussion. To what extent are values a personal choice? So the learner is moving, there's a gradual progression from the content academic based question to thoughtful action, right? So I hope this example has been able to make you understand how the flow of questions should be based on line of inquiry. So the line of inquiry gives that objective to the set of questions that follow. And in the unit plan, there can be various lines of inquiry. So this was line of inquiry 1. The second could be line of inquiry 2, which could be based on culture. What is culture? How is culture shaped? To what extent culture, prone to extinction or it is under threat? So this is how the questions can be formed. So now I would request all of you to again on Padlet, put some responses, keeping the line of inquiry in mind, your factual, conceptual, and debatable questions. Frame at least one factual, one conceptual, and one debatable question. So as and when we have responses, so we can, request the audience to elaborate on these questions and how you would be using them. Like if we have responses, yes, they can be put on the Padlet. Like I give you the example of innovation also. What is innovation? How are innovative ideas developed? And to what extent innovative products, the products have to be innovative to be successful. So see how I'm moving from what to how to what extent. So I request you to think of similar questions related to the unit and the keeping of course, the statement of inquiry in mind.
Maybe we can have one question from a conceptual question from somebody in the audience.
Yeah,
Here,
even just
if you're
one
ready.
question.
Yeah. If anybody has framed it.
Ms. Purba, why don't you give one example of a factual question that you would have used in the classes based on the key concept that you selected? We have some responses coming in meanwhile.
Yeah, so maybe when I was teaching functions, what are relations? Because functions entirely are based on relations. So what are relations?
Okay. All right.
Okay,
Ms.
we have a
Kirti.
question already.
Yeah.
Okay, so 1 second. Maybe I'll read out the question, but yes, Mr. Roshan, could you just explain this? Under which category will you put it in?
Namaste all, madam. It is a factual question. Would you like vanilla ice cream? A direct answer can be given by the learners, yes or no. What?
Okay.
But is it having your key concept or the related concept?
No, madam. It is just a journal, a factual question I have done in the on the basis of what the three things has been
Okay.
the given.
Okay. Well, I would just make one clarification that whatever factual questions you're thinking of, they should be the statement of inquiry should be the guiding force.
Now understood, madam. Yeah, now understood. It should be a key concept. On the basis of that, we frame all three: this factual, conceptual, and debatable.
Yes, it should be the statement of inquiry. I would not just say the key concept, but the entire statement that drives your inquiry questions.
Yes, madam. Got it. Got it. Thank you, madam.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah.
Would anybody else like to share?
I think Ms. Kirti has come up with wonderful questions. Ms. Kirti, could you just unmute yourself and elaborate on your questions as to what you're seeking from the students through this? Ms. Kirti? Okay, in the meantime, Mr. Bijal, yeah. Mr. Bijal? Ms. Pooba, do we have some responses?
We have a response from Ms. Kakuli. Yes, Kakuli ma'am, would you like to speak?
I would like to speak Bijal. I'm Bijal over here.
Yeah, hi Bijal, yes.
Yes, actually, I started writing along with you people only, and then I have taken my topic as transformations. Basically, I'm a mathematics teacher, and I thought of key concept like relationships and related concept as measurement and pattern. And the global context which I took was scientific and technical innovations, and the exploration can be mathematical puzzles, principles, and discoveries. The statement of inquiry, I don't know whether it is how much it is correct, but what I tried is the patterns used scientifically with technical innovation will help in understanding the relationships between measurements of the object. And based on this, the factual questions, what was I was planning to was like, what are transformations? How many types of transformations are there, and what measurements you will be considering to do the transformations? That was I was writing.
Okay, Ms. Bijal, but first talking about the statement of inquiry, you've indeed made a fantastic SOI, but the word will bring that certainty to it, which we don't want. So it should be the patterns used in this may help in understanding. So that's one thing. Second thing, as I said, when we were discussing the checklist, so ensure that the key concept, the related concepts, and the global context exploration are being used over here. You may not have the words as it is, but even if there are some truly representative words of those, that can be fine, as long as all three of them combined make a meaning. Yes.
Okay.
All right. And second clarification is about the questions. So your questions are absolutely, the factual one is fine, the conceptual is fine, but when it comes to debatable, if I am interpreting it correct, the third question, if it is debatable, should not be what? It should be something which is open-ended and debatable in nature.
Yeah, it should be like something how transformations, or it can be like that transformations will help us in our real life situation. Is it okay?
Well, that's like you just asking the real life context to it. Make it try to have that argument.
Miss Vardu, he would like to speak here.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, Vardu, ma'am.
Good afternoon, everyone. Just a very quick observation also. What I'm seeing in the Padlet, most of our colleagues are putting the SOIs quite in a long way. However, we are looking into the SOIs to be shorter and very general. The one also as an example given here. And also regarding to the last debatable question, it's always easier if you try to start to what extent and then look into bringing in the concept and trying to guides the child towards the final result of the SOI understanding.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. So I hope, Ms. Vijay, it's clear to you now.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Do we have got quite a lot of responses. May I ask, yes, somebody to please elaborate on their statement of inquiry. We don't have names over here. Ms. Kirti, are you there? Okay, Mr. Jackson, would you just elaborate on your questions and the statement of inquiry?
Okay, so as you can see, my global context is personal and cultural expression with the area of exploration specifically looking at creation. So when I'm looking at the factual question on the factual question, I'm actually looking at what makes drama or theater beautiful. And when I'm looking at that, it's very it has specific answers. For example, of course, when you're thinking about drama related, when you're thinking about what creates beauty in drama, you're thinking about literary elements, starting from the blueprint, which is the script. We are also looking at technical elements, music, sound, lights. Those are very definite elements that create beauty in a performance. So when you're thinking about aesthetic, we are thinking about the beauty of the performance, and we're also looking at performance elements as so they're very straightforward answers that they would get. And when we are looking at now the conceptual, I'm looking at it is very contextualized when you're thinking about the conceptual, because in different communities, how they create beauty, it is very different. So, for example, you will, if you think about the West, there is a lot about the technological innovation in terms of creating the beauty in a performance. But when you think on the flip side, there are communities that would look at the beauty is in the story. So that is how I would have built on the conceptual question.
Okay, fantastic response. Thank you, Mr. Jackson. And I'm sure you're working on the debatable question as well, because that's, I think you were working on it and it's not yet finalized yet. Mm-hmm. Okay, Ms. Purva, do we have more responses, or is it time for the question answers now?
Yeah, I think we can move on to our question answer round.
Okay, so I think let's give a pat on our backs because we've done a wonderful job. And I think we have been able to work on the unit plan, and the milestones have been achieved. So I promise you that since we have been able to work on the inquiry part of the unit plan, and the action and reflection hasn't been covered, so I promise that there'll be follow-up sessions in future where we'll be taking up other aspects of unit planning. So before we, it's time to have some questions. So the session is open to that. So can we have some questions coming either through show of hands or chat box, if you have any? Yeah, any questions?
Yeah, I can see a hand raised up by Miss Richa. Yes, Miss Richa.
Yes.
Ma'am, I have one question regarding when we try to formulate our factual questions and the other questions in them. I just wanted, when we choose our KC, RC and GC, out of which, when after choosing it, do we need to incorporate all the three in, like in factual, conceptual, debatable? Like when we talk about all these three questions, do we need to incorporate all the three, or it is fine to take one and go ahead with the conceptual, debatable as well as factual?
Absolutely, Ms. Richa. As I had discussed earlier, that when you are developing your line of inquiry, you are focusing on one aspect of statement of inquiry. So if you are picking up, say, a global context exploration, so try to build factual, conceptual, and debatable question on that basis. So giving my example again, I took beliefs and values. So my factual question was based on that. What is belief? My conceptual question was how are beliefs shaped? And my debatable question was also based on that. So you can pick up one aspect and build that entire line of inquiry on that. And then maybe the second line of inquiry could be on another aspect of SO. I hope I've answered your question.
Ms. Vardu, he would also like to share.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, thank you very much, Ms. Purba. Just to share also one of the important areas, what we usually look into is that the statement of inquiry is very general. It is never subject specific. However, when we are taking over the lines of inquiry, as very correctly Ms. Deepti has mentioned and helped us to understand the essence of line of inquiry, it might be very much also focused on the subject specific area. So you are taking a part of the statement of inquiry, you are breaking down the statement of inquiry, and the part that you are taking as line of inquiry can already start having very much subject focused things. Therefore, when taking the questions under that line, you can already start focusing on your subject specific vocabulary, terminology, concepts, ideas. So instead of just generally saying what is relationship, you can say what is relationship in chemistry, what is relationship in the given context of whatever. So you are trying to make it very much clear to the student how the topic that you are teaching is related to the given context, is related to the given concept, and then through that develop the abstract general understanding that comes up at the end of the unit in the form of the statement of inquiry. Thank you, Ms. Deepti, for highlighting that point also in the lines. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. We also have a question from Mr. Roshan.
Yes, please. Just
Yes,
a second. In the meantime, just a second. I'm sorry for disrupting, but in the meantime, Ms. Purba, can you put the link of the feedback form in the chat box?
I have. I'll just share it with.
Yeah,
I've
so I
already
would
shared
request
it.
the audience. Yes, so I would request the audience to fill the feedback form. And yes, Mr. Roshan, please continue. Sorry for disrupting you. Yes.
Madam, that in the statement of inquiry, that is SOI, all the ATL skills, the thinking skills, the social skills, self-management skills, correct? There are ATL skills. So in that, there are 6 phases of statement of inquiries, line of inquiry statement. So where is the appropriate place to use that all the ATL skills? Because while making a particular any unit planning, we have to tell the what are the different skills we are going to implement, or the what the learners are going to learn with that. So is that any particular phase or the area where you can use that ATL skills?
Absolutely. That's a good question. Well, let me clarify 2 things over here. One, we would not be using for a particular unit all the ATL skills. In fact, a unit would be focusing on either 1 or 2 skills that would be developed in a student. For example, if it's communication, so you're focusing on through your activities to develop the communication skills. And as I said, the unit plan is divided into 3 parts. So the action part, which identifies the taught curriculum, as in how students will learn. So that will be, highlighting the ATL skills that would be developed through the unit. So when we move from inquiry to action, so that action part will have the ATL skill incorporated in it.
Varduhi ma'am would also like to share.
Yes.
Yes, just also to continue with that, the best and easiest way to plan the ATL skills in the unit is basically looking into the planned objectives of the unit. What you do is you refer to your guide, and under the objectives, you would see all these trends coming, right? Which are also part of the criteria. If you look into the connection, it's objective, criteria, and direct connection with the ATL. If in your objective you see that you are going to evaluate something or you are going to analyze something and you want that objective to be part of your unit planning, what you do is looking for exactly similar things in the ATL and try to find some kind of a skill that would reflect that objective. So that when you start assessing at the end of the unit in your summative, you are able to assess also the planned skills through the objectives, through the criteria that you have used. Because as Ms. Deepti has already very correctly mentioned, the objectives cannot be planned all at the same time. Of course, we use a lot of skills when teaching the unit. There might be a lot of strengths that are being part of our activities. But as for planning, we plan only what we can assess. And the thing that we can assess is basically reflected in the criteria and the objectives. So just pick up on the keywords that you would see: evaluate, criticize, communicate, analyze, whatever you see as part of objective, focus on that in the ATL strengths. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Yeah. So, Ms. Purba, do we have some more questions?
Yeah, we have another question from Ms. RC. Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, so I have a question with respect to, the ATL skills or the other, all the other things that come after the SOI. So if you click on edit, right under the skills or all of that stuff, you have something known as description. There's a description box. And on the right hand side, you have a small bubble which has reflection. So what needs to go in description and what needs to go in the reflection? Because I'm a little confused whenever I'm filling my unit plan.
Okay, though the session was focused on the inquiry part and the later parts would be taken up in the follow-up sessions. But I would just say over here that the reflection is basically the teacher recording the reflection prior to the unit, as in when the planning is being done with the other parallel teachers. So what have been the challenges and what have been the the benefits, the challenges, the reflection of the planning of the process. And then during the unit, as in while the classes are being happening, so what all were the experiences and the reflections. So that goes during the unit, and then that's after the unit. So once the unit has been covered, of course, there must be major takeaways. There must be major, again, limitations. So those limitations and major takeaways are again put as reflections. So reflections, that's why, are done at 3 stages over here. So that's the reflection. And then when you talk about the description part, so you're basically, you're talking about which area specifically? You're talking about
so when you open manage back, for example,
okay.
You look at ATL skills or you look at integration and all of that.
Okay, Varduhi ma'am would like to say something here.
Yes. Sorry, just again to interfere, but wanted to take up that question as well. Ma'am, the description part is basically why are you planning the things in that way? Like description of the ATL that you have chosen, right? Let's say communication is what you have chosen in your unit plan. Why have you chosen that exactly? And in the description box, you are expected to write that this is directly connected with the objectives which require my student to be able to communicate in an effective way. This is why throughout the formatives, I am able to develop this skill. So this is the description of your planning, of your thoughts. It's kind of a recording of why you think in this way, why you are doing this, why you are putting this activity, be that for the ATL or whatever else. Or if you are developing a formative assessment. There is a description of the formative assessment. What exactly are you planning to do with that activity? Are you planning to focus on a feedback that is given verbally, or you are giving comments? So these are the things that would hint you how to develop your lesson. Whereas for the reflection part, it is to give feedback to your own planning, to your own lessons and actions. Like in the middle of the unit, you have already covered several lessons. You have seen that your planning was really good, was really full of differentiation. It worked perfectly. So you put all these reflection points in your unit so that next year, when you refer to your similar unit, you know what worked well, what not, what might be changed, what expectations should be for the challenges, so that your planning is also reviewed.
Okay.
I hope I could clarify your question.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. I think, Ms. Puba, we are running out of time. And okay, thank you so much, all of you, for your valuable time and your support. And we got wonderful responses from you. And I'm sure you must have filled the feedback form. If not, please do it, because that's going to help us improvise. And thank you so much. I hope the session was helpful in clarifying the important questions and helped you in developing the unit plan. So thank you so much.
Yes, Ms. Deepti, everybody is saying thank you and they really enjoyed the session. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Roshan, would you like to say something?
Can we have some oral feedback as well, Ms. Puba?
No, madam. No, madam. No, madam. Thank you very much. Thank you.
How was the session? Can we have some responses? Yeah.
Yeah, 1 second. So all the
Can you
chats
tell,
will be available.
please? Hello?
Yeah, you're audible.
Thanks a lot to you for your amazing session. It was really great for our reflection, for understanding the modern building of our unit planners. I'm MYP coordinator and I'm interested in collaboration maybe with some of your teachers. I'm from Istanbul, from Turkey, originally from Russia. And maybe I can cooperate with some of your schools or MYP coordinators and so on. It will be my honor if you can prompt me. Where can I write? Maybe I can write to your organizers, for example, of the trainings.
Okay, to start with.
Miss Leila, is that you? I hope you remember Miss Dalia also from Russia.
Yeah.
Okay, so
I know. Yeah, I remember her. We spoke with her too. Yeah, so I can write to her. You mean yes?
Definitely, and we can meet and discuss all the things. It would be a pleasure.
Okay. Because she's working online. Yeah, for your country.
At the moment,
she's
yes,
working
but
online.
Soon moving to India as well, and we can look into different ways of cooperation as well.
Okay. I can see her tomorrow during design session. Okay. We can maybe meet later. It will be my pleasure. And welcome to Istanbul anytime you want.
Thank you very much.
Welcome to Russia too, surely. But nowadays I'm working in Istanbul.
Okay, I have really missed Russian experience. Would love to go there. It was great.
Okay. It was my pleasure to meet you. And any kind of certificates, because for MYP role coordinators, they gave us a certificate.
That's true. Miss Leila, at this time, for these 3 days of the webinars, we would not have certificates. However, all the upcoming workshops and other interactions would be based on certification. It's just the number of people is really very high, and providing the certificate will take very long.
Okay, okay.
Why we focus
Okay,
on more
MVP coordinator is okay. Okay, we got it. Okay.
Right.
Okay, thanks a lot. Have a nice day. Okay.
Lily, thank you very much for participating.
Okay, it was my pleasure to be in your session today. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Good luck. Good luck. Nice weekend to you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.